Hi guys, Dave O'Sullivan here again for the final installment of the pre-launch to the New Age Sports and Private Practice Healthcare Professional series. And over the last 6 weeks, I've taken you through pretty much my blueprint, if you want to call it that, of how I take an athlete from the bed and return them to the sporting setting or the private practice setting. And the last pillar that we need to cover today is all about building resilience and robustness, okay? Because there's no point doing all the hard work, and I see this a lot in professional sport, getting the athlete, they're flying, and then you put them back into training, and then lo and behold, a week, 2 weeks later, they're coming in with another niggle or another knock. Because the reality of the situation is, when they go back into the real world, okay, when they get away from the treatment room, okay, the physio room if you're in private practice, there's stress coming left, right, and center for us, okay? In today's world, there's a lot of stress. Now, stress isn't bad. It's our ability to react to stress that sometimes could be a little more optimal, okay? And that's where we need to give strategies to our patients when we discharge them, in my opinion, in order to help them build that resilience and build that robustness. And that's the exact same with a professional athlete as it is to a private practice patient. So let's look at some of the stressors that I tend to focus on more from a physical point of view and also a mental point of view, that I think physios and healthcare therapists have a lot of good skill sets that we can utilize. And the first stressor that I think we need to the patient to do well really is to move well under loads, okay? So whether that's your professional athlete in the gym or whether that's your private practice patient lifting their kids or their grandkids out of the car seat, the shopping out of the boot, getting up and down off the toilet, hoovering, okay? We need to be able to move well with additional loads stressing our body, okay? And again, stability is the ability to handle forces in any given direction, okay? It's the ability to transmit forces through the body, okay, and utilize our body efficiently, okay? And a lot of times how we can do that to move more efficiently is to try utilize elastic energy as much as we can, or transfer the forces through the muscles to the tendons to dampen the forces, okay? Now there's two options that I think we can help that patient be a little bit more successful with early doors, okay? And we can help the muscles overcome muscle slack and transmit the forces to the tendons and through the fascia and the other connective tissues that are going to help with that force transmission. And that is the hands and the feet, okay? So by having good intent through the hands and through the feet, we can help overcome that muscle slack through our intent, okay? In order to give that muscle, okay, or that part of the muscle or the direction of force, that little bit of reassurance, okay, in order to transmit the forces up to the tendons and to the adjacent tissues via the fascia, okay? So moving well under loads is very, very important. And as I said, I think a lot of times the grip is very, very important to educate people on when they're lifting, and also the foot pressures, okay? And again, I see a lot of people, especially in the strength and conditioning world, are saying drive up through the heels, okay? Push through your heels as you come up. Now, pushing through your heels at the bottom of squat's fine, but as we come up and we want to hip extend, the last thing we want to be doing is pushing through our heels, okay? What we need to do is have good intent through the rest of the foot, and understanding these foot pressures is so, so important, okay? Look at gait, look at Olympic lifting, okay? Foot pressures is so, so important to master in order to educate our patients to actually have good intent when they're being discharged, okay? Because the chances are, put a lot of athletes back, we've done all the hard work, and then when they go back into the gym, there's not good intent to put forces in certain directions because they develop movement habits, and that's okay, but we want to reassure, and ultimately in a nutshell, we want to give them as much movement options as possible. That's like literally it, okay? We want to give as much movement options as possible, give the body plenty of choices, okay, so that one particular direction doesn't get the brunt of it, and ultimately then get sensitized and things start to go from there. Now that's moving well under loads. Now the other stressor that can come to us, okay, besides a physical stressor, is mental or emotional stressor. So from a professional athlete point of view, there's contract issues, there's their teammates, okay, there's wives and girlfriends, there's coaches, there's as I said, family issues, there's all sorts that can happen. And we know from research that when we're stressed, okay, that the respiratory system reacts in anticipation, okay? Just like tissues are okay, or pain can sometimes come about in terms of reaction to perceived threats. The respiratory system acts very, very similar, okay? So the breathing rate and depth can change in anticipation of perceived stressors. So why that's important in the private practice setting is we need to be able to go into fight or flight when we need it, but we need to get out of it as well and get into rest and digest. So the ability to switch off after a hard day's work, okay? If you're working with a lot of people who have high pressure jobs, we need to give them strategies to get them out of fight or flight and into rest and digest, so they can hopefully some way switch off from work. And that's going to be important when we understand the impact of that stressor, okay? When the depth of the breathing is changed, when the breathing rate increases, the impact of the pelvic floor and diaphragm's movement on the rest of the body. When we understand force transmissions, we understand the importance of the rib cage, thoracic mobility, we understand the importance of force transmissions, okay? Then the pelvic floor and the diaphragm are going to play a big part in that, okay? And if they are getting high toned, okay, and they're decreasing movement options, then that's not a good thing, okay? So that's another thing that I think is very, very important. We need to have these strategies for our patients. And then the final bit, I think, is really important, okay? You could argue as well, by the way, nutrition, hydration, etc. Okay, a little bit out of our scope, but we can give some, basic education and helping people, drink more water. Okay, I think everyone could benefit from that, and nutrition, etc. Okay, but again, I think that's going a little bit out of our scope of practice. And the final one for me, to build resilience and robustness, is it kind of ties in with the first bit of moving well under loads, but it's giving the patient some meaningful movements to previous stressors. Okay, so keeping their ability to put forces in specific directions to make sure that they use their body to the best of their ability by having good intent through all different movements. Okay, so if they've had previous stressors or previous injuries, that we want to load these tissues, because we need to stress these tissues, okay, in that graded manner, so that they don't get too sensitized when all of a sudden they do something random. Okay, because we want them to be able to enjoy life. We want them to be able to go bicycle, and we want them to be able to hoover the house. We want them to be able to pick their grandkids up, okay? We want an athlete to be able to squat and deadlift, okay? We want an athlete to be able to play a game. So we need loads and loads of options, and the best way that we can get that, okay, is keep them in between rest and digest and fight or flight. Make sure that they don't stay in one versus the other, okay? And then give them plenty of movement options, okay? So then once we discharge them, they have all these things. They're empowered, they've got thoughtless, fearless movement, they're moving well under loads, they're sleeping well because we've given them strategies to get out of fight or flight, and they've got that thoughtless, fearless movement where they're not afraid to move into or put forces through the body that they've had previous injuries on. Okay, so then we're going to have a lot of movement options, and then for me, that's going to have a big part to play in building robustness and building resilience. Okay, as I said, this is the format that I've spent the last 8 years. This stuff's tried and tested in with professional athletes. Okay, and it's the exact same system I use in private practice. Okay, and it's served me very, very well, and it's given me that kind of belief and confidence in my own ability, which then is going to rub off on to the patient, okay? Because ultimately, we as therapists, we need to have clarity, we need to have confidence in ourselves, okay? Because that patient needs to understand, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, they can help me. And once they have the belief in you then, okay, that adherence, okay, will start to go up a little bit. And once they've got clarity on why they're doing something and how it relates to their story, okay, and it makes sense for them, and then they have clarity, then they're going to adhere even more to your exercise program. Okay, that's from my own clinical experience. Okay, then they're going to have that confidence, and we're going to start to help them build that confidence towards thoughtless, fearless movement. Okay, so in a nutshell, before we actually show you the new age sports and private practice healthcare professional 3-part series, in a nutshell for this pre-launch, what I would say is it's important that we understand the patient's story, that we get to know the person, that they have belief and confidence in us, okay, that we've got clarity and we know exactly how what we're seeing fits to the patient's story. And then when we go to intervene, that they've got confidence in us, so they're actually actively listening to us. And when we put our hands on someone, if it's appropriate, or whether we use non-manual therapy techniques, that there's a clinical reasoning for everything we do. And then the rehab program is a graded exposure on top of that. And then once we've got that return to play, return to life sorted, then it's about giving them and empowering them the ability to build robustness and resilience. Okay, and that's it. Honestly, it's so simple, it's so common sense. Okay, but the power and the value in this is having that refined system. So as I said, the refined system just allows you to control the chaos. Okay, because there's some days where there's a lot going on, and it's the ability to take a step back, especially in professional sport. It happens all the time, where you almost get so tunnel visioned. Okay, sometimes you need to step back, okay, and follow your system, related always first and foremost to the patient and their story. Okay, my name is Dave O'Sullivan. Once again, thank you for joining me on part 6 of the pre-launch to the New Age Sports and Private Practice Healthcare Professional Series. I'll see you in January for the launch of my 3-part video training course, where we go into this in a lot more depth and we start to look at some athletes and some professional physiotherapists and private practice clinicians who are utilizing this stuff in the real world.